The arena lights were blinding, glaring down like spotlights in a courtroom. And then the broadcasted voice boomed, sharp and deliberate. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe Serena Williams isn't as invincible as everyone thinks. The laughter that followed was cruel, deliberate. Not the nervous chuckles of polite spectators. Not the applause of fans anticipating greatness. No, this was humiliation, broadcasted to tens of thousands in the stadium and millions more watching at home. Serena Williams, stood near center court, her eyes forward, jaw tight. Calm, measured, composed. But the arena could feel it, tension radiating like heat off the pavement in a summer sun. A giant screen flickered behind her. Not her victories. Not her legendary wins. No, the footage was carefully curated to embarrass. Early losses, fumbled serves, awkward interviews, moments taken out of context to make her look unsure, unskilled, human in ways the Empire thought they could mock. The crowd chuckled nervously. Some booed politely. Some whispered, sensing unease. But as the reel continued, their mood began to shift. Because Serena didn't move. She didn't flinch. She didn't react. And that silence, controlled, deliberate, was louder than any laughter could ever be. The host, a smirk plastered across his face, leaned forward. I mean, come on. The queen of tennis. Sometimes even queens slip, huh? The laughter swelled. A few spectators pointed at the screen. Phones were already lifted, recording the moment, sending it into the digital ether. Serena's hands rested lightly on her hips. A deep breath. Calm. But beneath it, a storm was gathering. Because this wasn't just about laughs. This wasn't a harmless tease. This was a setup. The Empire, those who controlled the media, the narrative, the cameras, thought humiliation was entertainment. Thought she would stumble. Thought she would give them the moment they wanted. But they forgot something crucial. You don't humiliate a champion and expect silence. Another clip played. This one from a Grand Slam match where she had narrowly lost a set. The announcer laughed, leaning into it. Even Serena struggles sometimes. The crowd laughed again, but a few seats away, the tension began to thicken. Phones were lowered slightly. Eyebrows furrowed. Something was shifting. Serena tilted her head, eyes scanning the arena. The crowd. The cameras. The Empire behind the screens. You think this defines me? Her voice, soft at first, carried easily through the arena speakers. Calm. Controlled. Measured. The host blinked. Well, we're just... You're trying to humiliate me, she interrupted, calm but firm. On purpose. Publicly. For laughs. For clicks. For spectacle. A murmur spread through the crowd. The energy began to pivot. Do you know what that makes you? Serena continued. Not powerful. Not clever. Careless. Because real strength doesn't rely on making others small. The audience had stopped laughing. The murmurs grew. Phones paused mid-recording. Everyone sensed it. The arena's energy had shifted. You've tried to define my story by my lowest moments, Serena said, eyes narrowing slightly, calm but fierce. By cherry-picking failures. But let me remind you. She paused. The hush in the arena was palpable. Every corner, every camera, every microphone waited. I am not defined by what you put on a screen. I am defined by what I do in real life. By how I rise. By how I fight. By how I dominate when it counts. A wave of whispers spread. Fans began clapping slowly. The shift was subtle at first, then undeniable. Phones that had been filming humiliation were now filming awe. The host's smirk began to falter. Well, we didn't. Exactly, Serena said. You didn't. And now you know. She stepped forward deliberately, her presence commanding, magnetic. Calm, measured, unshakable. And the empire that thinks it can humiliate champions should know this. The words didn't echo. They landed. Heavy. Final. For a split second, the entire arena froze. Even the production crew behind the cameras hesitated, unsure whether to cut the feed or let it run. The host shifted his weight, forcing a tight smile that no longer reached his eyes. Serena didn't blink. Should know this, she repeated, voice steady. You can replay my losses. You can magnify my mistakes. But you cannot erase my legacy. The LED screen behind her flickered again, this time not because of her command, but because the control room was scrambling. Someone had tried to cut back to the humiliation reel. Someone else hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. Because the crowd started clapping. Not loud at first. Just a few scattered hands in the lower bowl. Then another section. Then more. The sound built gradually, like thunder rolling in from a distance. The host glanced around, sensing it slipping. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just having a little fun here. But the crowd wasn't laughing anymore. They were watching her. And Serena stood there like a monument. Calm, composed, but unmistakably powerful. You don't get to decide my story, she said. I've lived it. I've earned it. Every championship. Every comeback. Every battle you conveniently edited out. The applause grew louder. In the control room, executives were whispering urgently. Sponsors were texting. Social media feeds were exploding. Clips were already trending. Only they weren't mocking her. They were praising her restraint. One producer muttered, "The crowd's turning." No, the crowd had already turned. The host attempted to pivot. "Serena, nobody's questioning your greatness." She stepped forward slightly, just enough to command the space. "Then why did you start with my lowest moments?" Silence. The question didn't need an answer. It exposed everything. The Empire believed spectacle meant tearing down. They believed tension meant humiliation. They believed she would either laugh it off or lose control. They miscalculated. Because Serena Williams doesn't lose control on other people's terms. Her voice softened slightly, not weaker, just grounded. "I've been underestimated my entire career," she said. "I've been called too emotional, too strong, too dominant, too loud, too much." The crowd murmured. Heads nodded. "And yet," she continued, "I kept winning." That line hit differently. Not arrogant, not defensive, just factual. The applause swelled again, stronger this time. The host's posture stiffened. His confidence was unraveling in real time. The script in his hand suddenly felt useless. Because this wasn't scripted anymore. This was real. A group of fans in the upper tier started chanting her name. Serena, Serena. Others joined. The chant grew rhythmic, powerful, unified. The same audience that had laughed minutes ago now stood on their feet. The Empire had wanted a viral humiliation. Instead, they were broadcasting a reclamation. Serena turned slightly, facing the audience fully now. She let the chant build. Let it breathe. Let it rise. Then she raised her hand gently. The arena quieted almost instantly. That kind of control can't be scripted. That, she said softly, gesturing to the crowd, is respect. Not forced. Not edited. Not manipulated. Earned. The host tried once more to recover. "Well, this certainly wasn't meant to offend." "But it did," she replied calmly. "And that's the point." Another silence. Not awkward. Powerful. Behind the cameras, executives were making decisions quickly. Cut to commercial? Let it play? Apologize publicly? But it was too late for damage control. The narrative had already shifted in her favor. Serena took one measured breath. "You try to shrink me for entertainment," she said. "But understand something clearly." She looked straight into the primary broadcast camera. "You cannot shrink someone who refuses to bend." The arena erupted, louder than before, louder than at the beginning of the night. This wasn't applause for a performance. It was applause for presence. The host's smile was gone entirely now. Sweat beaded on his forehead under the studio lights. He wasn't prepared for this version of the story. No anger, no meltdown, just clarity. And clarity is devastating when someone is exposed. Serena stepped back slightly, reclaiming center court without aggression. "You wanted to test me," she said. "But you tested the wrong thing. You tested my patience, not my ability." The crowd laughed, not mockingly, but approvingly. The host opened his mouth again, then closed it. He knew. There was no winning this exchange. Because she wasn't fighting him. She was standing above the moment. One of the producers finally signaled to cut the humiliation graphics entirely. The screens behind her went neutral. For the first time that night, nothing distorted her image. Just Serena, standing tall, controlled, unmoved. "And here's the truth," she said, voice steady. "Every champion has losses. Every athlete has setbacks. But you don't get to weaponize someone's growth to sell tickets." The crowd roared in agreement. She glanced briefly toward the control booth high above the arena seating. "And next time," she added calmly, "if you want tension, try earning it through competition, not humiliation." The line sliced clean. Even some of the crew clapped. The host leaned back, defeated but trying to mask it. "Well, I suppose that's one way to respond." She gave a faint smile. Not mocking, not warm either. "It's the only way," she replied. The chant started again. louder than ever. Serena, Serena. The Empire had tried to stage embarrassment. But the crowd, real people, not scripted narratives, had chosen respect instead. And that choice shocked everyone, including the Empire itself. As the segment wrapped and cameras prepared to cut away, Serena didn't storm off. She didn't demand apologies. She didn't escalate. She simply nodded once to the audience, acknowledging them, owning the moment. Then she walked off calmly, the cheers following her like a wave. Behind her, the host sat in stunned silence. The script had failed. The humiliation had backfired. And the arena would remember one thing. They tried to embarrass Serena Williams. But the crowd chose the champion.